everybody, and welcome back to Nerdy Miniatures. And in today's video, we're going to be doing another review, but this time on the Kill Team starter set. We're breaking it down into the figures, the rules, how beginner-friendly it was, and would we recommend it to beginners, and of course the price. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. So let's begin with what the pack is about and what it contains. The synopsis reads as follows. In the grim darkness of the far future, explosive rounds whiz through the air. Chainsaws rev hungrily. An armoured feet hammer against the broken ground. Here, in this moment, battle hinges on the bold actions of a mere handful of warriors. Do you have what it takes to command them and win? Kill Team is an action-packed tabletop game of intense skirmish battles set in the 41st millennium, the backdrop of Warhammer 40k. So this starter set is packed with everything two players need to take their first steps into Kill Team. It contains two full kill teams, the superhuman space marines of the Angels of Death, and their corrupted counterparts, the foul plague marines of the Death Guard. You also get a sheet of terrain made from MDF wood and printed imagery. These simply slide together without the need for glue or paint, and are easy to dismantle again for storage. The whole box has been designed to be built and ready to play in as little as 30 minutes. So what exactly does it contain? Inside the box you will find 14 Citadel miniatures, 7 Angels of Death and 7 Plague Marines, 1 64-page Kill Team starter handbook, 1 Kill Team token sheet containing 92 tokens, 2 reference sheets, 10 d6 dice, which are your standard 6-sided die, and 1 double-sided game board, as well as 3 sheets of slot-together MDF terrain. The miniatures in this set are each supplied with a sculpted base. All the figures are easy to construct and they are pushed to fit, and can be taken off their frame without clippers and assembled without glue. Understandably, the paints recommended for this build are Citadel paints, and my handbook within the kit comes with a complete paint scheme, so you don't have to guess which colours work, which is good. Something I do appreciate though is that there are no rush to paint these figures. Instead, they are in blue and green plastic separately, so you know which team is distinguished from which. Now let's look at the price. This set cost us £67.50, but I believe online at the moment it's £69.50. And in my opinion, from what I can see at this point, or what we could see at this point in the set, we already deemed that it was worth the money. Whilst we're picking it up, it was also recommended that we pick up the core book, which comes separately from the starter kit. This book is 112 pages and hardcover, and in the box it includes a comprehensive overview of the settings and factions, and a look at some example kill teams to inspire us. It then is broken down into the rules section, with streamlined rule set focused on fast action, and breaks down the core rules, phases, and actions your operative can perform. It then does missions for standard matching play, co-op, solo play, and multiplayer games, as well as an appendix of helpful guides and reference materials. Something else that was quite good with this is it came with an extra token sheet. So in addition to the 92 we already had, we now had a further 92 tokens. And these tokens track order, status, grenades, objectives, and loads more. This book will be perfect for those who can just read a rule and apply it, but if you're anything like us, myself and Mr. Nerd, where you need to put it into practice, then the starter set will be just fine on its own. The book was an additional £37.50, but it is not a necessary purchase for this kit, although we do recommend it if you want to get those extra tokens, and also if you look at expanding your kill team in the future. Now let's move on to the guide. The guide in this kit is easy to understand and follow, perfect for any beginner. It's broken down into 4 sections, and they're Introduction, Build, Read, and Play. The Play section is then broken down into tutorials and training to allow the players to put what they read and learn into practice. Players are introduced to the basics before they move on to Section 4. Throughout the final section of this handbook, it talks you through scenarios play by play and shows you the difference between a successful dice roll and an unsuccessful dice roll and how they impact each play. Just like with the Warcry handbook, it gives you winning and losing scenarios to try and show you how to play correctly, and as a beginner, I find this particularly helpful, as it shows you how a play works, using simple language so anyone can understand it, especially noobs like Mr. Nerd and I. So let's get into the scenarios. Of course, at this point, the only scenario book we have to compare it to is Warcry, so we'll be doing a little bit of side-by-side just to determine if this book is easier to understand than the Warcry one. Of course, these are different games. We want to create a clear picture for beginners as to which one might be better for fellow noobs to the hobby, or if they're like me and Mr. Nerd and are just wanting to expand their collection more. So to begin, at the beginning of Section 4, there is a page covering the basics. This breaks down each figure's action point limit, which is APL, tells you how far each character can move. Save. Save represents protection, almost like a shield. The lower the number, the better. And the last but not least is wounds. This represents the health of each character. For example, one character might have 18 health points, where another might have 12. The pages then talk you through dice rolls. Anything below a 3 is a miss, and anything higher is a hit, with a d6 being a critical hit, just like in Warcry. It then covers the tokens used in the game. For this book, we only needed to understand the engage order token, which shows you one side as ready and the other side is activated to show when a miniature has used up all of their moves, and the second token used was the objective marker. This denotes a key area of the mission map. Now let's move on to the scenarios. The first scenario is called 1 minute to midnight and goes as follows. Everything comes down to this moment. The fate of hundreds of thousands of lives now depends on the actions of a mere handful of Space Marines. It falls to these chosen few to secure victory. One bold round, one hammering fist, and one agonising step forward at a time. It tells you which figure to deploy and where, as well as how to win. This was a first for us as we immediately got into combat. We weren't taught how to move and we immediately got into the action. This is very different from the Warcry set, where we were taught to move and how to move around the board first before we got into action. So in many ways this was a little bit jarring for us as it was so different from what we had previously been shown. If it was up to us, we would have preferred to have been shown how to move and act first before getting into the action. The next scenario was called Suppressing Fire. The scenario reads as follows. A vital choke point has been identified. From here, a single sniper can make passage impossible for entire supply columns. 2 Space Marines have been dispatched to secure the site. In this scenario, you practice shooting. The goal? To use the Space Marines to take out the Plague Marines at long range. You play through each round, 4 in total, just like in Warcry, until either the Space Marines kill the Plague Marines, or until the Plague Marines overrun the Space Marines and kill them off. Each scenario is designed to be played solo, but it can be played with another person, meaning this set was perfect for us both to learn together. At this point, we found it a little bit odd that we still hadn't been taught how to move yet, or how initiative worked. As we recall, these were really crucial steps in any game, so we found it odd that the guide was almost teaching us how to play a skirmish in reverse. The next tutorial finally touches on movement and objectives. It reads as follows. Mobility and positioning can mean the difference between life or death on the battlefields of the 41st millennium. Operatives sprint into key locations, struggle for vital cover, and launch devastating flanking maneuvers, each side looking for an advantage that can turn into a victory. In your games of Kill Team, you'll be able to move your models freely, helping you to capture key objectives. The way you move in Kill Team is the same as it is in Warcry. Character's data card will show you the range of movement. For example, the Space Marine Captain for the Angels of Death has a movement range of 6 inches, so that is the maximum range he can move in one turn. The only way to add extra movement is to use dash. This allows each player an extra 3 inches of movement, which is helpful if you're trying to take an objective. We'll get more into that later. The next scenario is called Move, 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 which focuses on that movement I mentioned. The Space Marines have seized a vital biological sample that, if delivered to their allies, could be used to develop a cure for the Death Guard's plagues. But can they extract it under heavy fire? In this scenario, the movement rules will be used to get the operatives into position whilst taking heavy fire from the Death Guard. The goal for this mission is not to slay the enemy, but to reach a vital point. You'll have to balance mobility and offense to secure victory. For this, the Intercessor Sergeant of the Space Marines has an objective marker that the Space Marines need to keep safe until they can get it to the extraction zone that can be seen in the Handbook. This taught us basic movement whilst under fire, and how sometimes the best option is not to stand and fight, but instead move to achieve the objective. The next scenario is called No Ammo, No Mercy, and it goes as follows. In this scenario, you'll use the rules for fighting to take on a trio of Plague Marines, focusing on the most dangerous fighters first before they slay your best warrior. In this scenario, we have to focus on using the move Rush to get into combat with the Plague Marines, rolling out dice as before when fighting each other to try and take each other down. For this, we were evenly matched, and it was dependent on the dice rolls how well it went or didn't go. At this point, we were beginning to really enjoy Kill Team, and it felt like a more complete game. Next, we learn about APL and the action system. This system is unique to each character. All of our fighters have 3 APL points, also known as action points limit, and these have to be spent to use each action. For example, A dash that I mentioned earlier allows the player to move an extra 3 inches, but it requires you to spend 1 action point to do so. To perform an action, the following must be in play. Choose an operative to activate, decide which order to give, another name for an action, perform the action with the operative until they are expended, and flip over the order token to show they have been used. This breakdown made it easy to understand how to use this system, and showed us what we're required to perform it. Once in combat, the fighting is the same as it has been in previous scenarios, where dice rolls determine the outcome of the battle. Next, we looked at cover and visibility. This is pretty self-explanatory. You can only shoot what you can see. It requires a player to lean down to check visibility before shooting another player. If you can see them, then it's fair game. If not, then your shots don't hit. And if you can only partially see them, then this could weaken your shots. At this point, we had gone through the handbook. The last scenario was called Eternal Struggle, and it just wanted us to use all of the skills we had learnt and apply it to a single battle. By the end of this, we had played our first full-scale skirmish, and I have to say, we really enjoyed it. It was really simple, and especially if you're like me and it takes you a while to learn how to play a certain game, to learn certain rules, then this will actually be a really good place for you to start. It's 100% beginner friendly. I would highly recommend picking it up if you want to get into some Warhammer 40k. I can tell Mr. Nerd and I are going to really enjoy playing this and adding more kill teams in the future. As for value, on the Warhammer website at the moment, at least in the UK, it is showing at £69.50, so I would highly recommend it. I genuinely do think it is worth every single penny. So if you want to get into Warhammer 40k or into kill team in general, then please feel free to pick this up, because I can assure you it is fun and you will enjoy it. On a 1 to 5 scale, of 1 being the most difficult and 5 being the easiest, overall I would rate this a 4 out of 5. The only reason why it's getting a 4 instead of a 5 is because we noticed in the book there were a few typos here and there, which caused momentary confusion, and also because we didn't particularly like the fact that the scenarios were almost in reverse. We would have preferred to have been shown how to move first and then attack later. But this is just a personal preference. There's nothing actually wrong with the book, and it is really easy to understand. The figures themselves look fantastic, and I look forward to being able to paint them in just a few weeks' time once our armies on parade boards are finished. So if you want to see some Plague Marines being painted, some Space Marines being painted, then please feel free to stick around for that and subscribe to the channel. Anyway, that'll be it for today's video. Down in the description, you will find 2 links. The first to Mr. Nerd's channel. So if you enjoy MMOs and action RPGs, then please feel free to have a look at that. And if you enjoy Warhammer lore, Tolkien lore, just general nerdy lore, then please feel free to have a look at my channel, One Nerd to Rule Them All, where I cover just that. Anyway, that'll be it from me today. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are in the world. And as always, bye for now, guys.